Let's get on to the big news story of the day. Well, it's not really the big news story of the day, but it's probably the feature news story of what we're doing. No, it's not quite. We normally do it at 10 to. It's 14 minutes to right now, but we'll get into it a little bit earlier. Our potentially next hairless leader, his name is Christopher Luxon. He was on the Hui, and he completely muffed up his numbers, Chewy. You might be surprised to hear that
I'm not surprised to hear.
He didn't know his numbers when he was talking about tax. And of course, the Hui is a program put out primarily to speak about Māori issues and Māori news. And so, of course, you go on there wanting to speak about Māori issues. And obviously, you're going to be asked questions about Māori issues. So if it's going to be about your tax policy, it's going to be about how it impacts Māori. That's pretty obvious. You would think that the party of business, you would think that the ones who are going to run the economy better would say, for example, know how much minimum wage earners would earn per year. Yeah, it seems not to be the case.
How will your tax cuts achieve equity, particularly for Māori, say with average wage?
Yeah, so if you look at it, an average wage earner in New Zealand would be $50 better off a fortnight under
average
us with
wage.
a tax relief plan.
Average wage earner. So I get confused with that because there's the mean and the median, but it's either 75 or it's 95. It's so $1,000 a year is the average. I know which one. Someone will tell me in the chat.
What I've decided to do is that actually in a cost of living environment that we're all going through at the moment, and the fact that, we've got a government that frankly I don't think has looked after lower middle income New Zealanders well, I am targeting them with tax relief because I want them to keep more of their own money in their pocket.
So the question is, how would it help Māori? And he's talking about all of New Zealand and he's talking about the average wage.
To spend and to save and as they see fit. And that helps Māori or non-Māori, frankly.
Okay, but you said New Zealanders, right?
Yes.
What is the Māori average income?
It'll be lower than the average income across New Zealand. It'll be about $62,000, is it?
44,000.
44. So you're just above.
So,
whoa,
he had a guess. Luxon had he's coming on a Māori show to talk about Māori issues, and he had a guess, pulled it out of his arsehole, that the average Māori earner would be $62,000, whereas research shows it's 44. So he's out by basically
fucking hell.
20 grand. And then I'll go back a few seconds.
Just a casual 20 grand.
And then he goes on to talking about minimum wage.
Is it?
44,000.
44. So you're just above minimum wage.
So above minimum wage.
No, but
so above minimum wage. So 44,800 is above minimum wage. That's what he's saying. Right? You get that? So it's above minimum wage. Do it again.
44. So you're just above minimum wage.
So I'm not trying to trap you.
No, but
I just want to make sure that we understand when we talk about average wage and when we talk about all New Zealanders,
so I
that there are
understand,
differences.
Julian, to be clear, I fully understand that there are massive differences between Māori outcomes and non-Māori outcomes. Whether you look at health...
Well, hang on, not massive differences, because if the average wage is about 75, you think there's about a 12% difference because you said 62, whereas really it's 44. So you weren't thinking a massive difference, but it actually is a massive difference. So do you understand that, Mr. Luxon? Or are you just saying you understand that now because of the audience you're speaking to? Because you seem to think there was about a 10 to 15% difference in outcomes for when it comes to salary, but it's probably more like a 40% difference.
Non-Māori outcomes, whether you look at health, education, wealth, economy, home ownership, everything, right? I get it. But the question is now, I'm a little bit tired of the conversation. I want outcomes and I want delivery. And I've sat there watching a government for 6 years that hasn't delivered for Māori or non-Māori, and I actually want those outcomes changed. But the way we do that is actually we've got to build a much stronger economy, because actually that is the thing that enables us to afford the public services we want for Māori or non-Māori.
No, I understand the point. The reason why I raise the point about wages, and in particular 1/3 of Māori who earn under 30k.
Did you get that? Say it again. Average wage for Māori, 44,000. 1/3 of Māori earn under $30,000. Under $30,000. And Luxon's talking about the average wage, which is between 75 and 95,000.
In particular, 1/3 of Māori who earn under 30k. I mean, how much better off will they be under your government and your tax cuts? And how will that in any way, shape or form address the inequity?
Yeah.
Now, before he answers, I've seen someone written in the chat, the National Party, Chewy, you could try and look it up, the National Party tax calculator is currently down. I couldn't get on it. I was trying before I got onto the show to get the exact figure. But I can tell you from looking at it in the past, $30,000, you'll be at $1 to $2 a week better off. right? So that 1/3 of Māori will be $1 to $2 better a week off. If you are minimum wage, which by the way is not $44,000, it's higher than that. $44,000 is less than minimum wage, but Luxon doesn't know that. If you were at minimum wage, which is about 47,000, you'd get $10 a week. 30,000, you're going to get single figures a week. So that's the actual benefit financially that 1/3 of Māori are going to get. Now, Luxon's going to try and spin a top, but that's what the actual truth is.
Or form address the inequity.
Yeah, so essentially what you've got is, just so you understand the tax plan, the minimum wage is essentially what you're saying now is the average median wage for Māori.
No. Minimum wage is not $44,000, the average median wage for Māori. It's not that, Mr. Luxon.
Full-time working Māori is essentially the minimum wage. With that comes a whole bunch of other entitlements and or provisions that will continue. You know, if you think about accommodation supplements and other entitlements that happen through our welfare
But
system,
not
it's
public
great.
transport.
No, for sure. But,
not free EC for under twos.
No,
not
because,
$5 prescription.
No, but actually we are going to deliver Family Boost, which is actually helping families, 130,000 families who earn under $180,000, who have early childhood costs. We're going to give the money directly to them, up to $75 a week.
Okay, so remember what he said. If you're earning under $130,000, you get up to $75 a week, yada, 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 yada. That's 130,000 people or families or people in New Zealand. And that, so in other words, if you happen to be Māori, earning $44,000 and have 2 kids who are in early childhood education, you'll be doing a little bit better. As soon as those kids hit primary school, it all goes away. Because it's only provisions for families, he used the word families, multiple incomes, with kids who are between 2 and 5. That's it. Anyone else, if you're a Māori family and you've got kids who are 6 and 7, fuck yeah, you don't get it. Only for kids between 2 and 5, because it only applies to early childhood education. So this is the shell game that National's playing at the moment with these numbers. Families, we're giving $250 a fortnight to families. No. The caveats are how much you earn, how much your partner earns, and if your kids happen to be between 2 years old and 5 years old. If you're that, you might get up to $125 a week. If they don't, let's say you're just Māori and you're a single person, you're on a wage and you're on $30,000 or $44,000, which is the average, you might get $1 or $2. So just be aware of the shell game.
Childhood costs. We're going to give the money directly.
Sorry, were you going to say something, Drew?
I was just going to say, so the National Party tax calculator, as I see it right now, is accurate. You enter it in and then you get nothing.
Very good. But that's why you get paid to do the comedy here.
To them, up to $75 a week, $3,900 a year. And that is really important because actually for low and middle income earners, that's something that's going to help them tremendously.
Okay, so sorry.
So just because it's not the Labor Party policy of delivering
Of course,
2-year-olds,
low
we've
and
got a
middle
better
income
mechanism, we
earners,
believe,
man.
to get the money to
fucking
people
bullshit.
to support them with their childcare costs.
Okay, so,
right?
but, so just
and likewise on public transport, I just say to you, rather than trying to do it that way, what we're saying is let's give people tax relief and then they can spend and navigate those costs that they've got to deal with themselves.
$2
again, please, Chris. So for a third of Māori who earn under 30k, how much should they get again in tax?
Well, that's not a full-time minimum wage earner in New Zealand. Oh. A full-time minimum wage earner in New Zealand is earning about $42,000.
You're out by
45.
You're out by $100 a week, Mr. Luxon. How A, out of touch do you need to be, and B, unprepared do you need to be as the fucking party who says they can run the economy and they're the expert in tax, that you can be out by $100 a week.
$22.70 an hour times $40 40 hours a week gets you to where you need to be. And what we're saying for a minimum wage earner in New Zealand, it will be about $26 a week.
Okay, what do you make of the
$20 a fortnight, sorry.
So there's the first part of the story, Chu. I want to play one other thing, right? Because that then a bit more chatty. It went into the ad break. And when the Hui came out of the ad break, would have been a fly on the wall. But I suspect what would have happened is some underling for Mr. Luxon that was there was sweating and things coming out his or her ears and would have run up to Mr. Luxon to correct his error as to what minimum wage actually was. And so when they came out of the ad break, this is how it went.
Hoki mai anō ko te hui, tēnei ko te hui. Kia Christopher Luxon. He is, of course, the leader of the National Party. Chris Luxon is with us.
So, Julian, can I just correct? Minimum wage is $47,000 a year. It'd be $20 a fortnight. Someone would get under our plan. If you get median wage, it'd be $50 a fortnight.
I'm sure people will pick up on that.
So,
Wow,
oopsie.
that was clumsy. That was
Oopsie.
super clumsy. Do you
So
think
he didn't know what minimum wage was, and when asked about Māori, whose average wage is $44,000 and a third of them earn under $30,000, he couldn't tell them anything. He could tell them what the average earner was, which is that middle, or what families under 100, which is not what he was asked. So he either doesn't know, or what's probably more obvious, Chewy, if you look at what those who are on, let's say, less than 50 grand are going to earn, it's 3/5 of fuck all, and they don't want to highlight that.
No, and this is the problem when you've been hammering the point that it's tax relief for the low and middle income, and everybody goes, "Oh, is it? Let's run the numbers." How can we expect a millionaire, former CEO, owner of 7 houses, to know what that is? Why would he bother about $200 a week?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I know politicians always try to get caught out on gotcha cost of living sort of thing. How much is $2 worth of milk? How much is a banana? $20? Who knows? But this is the stuff that counts when you're sitting there and you're saying that this is a policy for low and middle income earners. So therefore, it should be it should be an issue that I bring up on the hui, right? And to not be across that.
Yep.
This is what makes me think, like, when I go on about people being like national supporters should be angry at this dude as well, right? When he has phoned it in to this degree, when he's going on a show a couple of weeks out for an election that is going to be like, hey man, we don't think you do anything for Māori, is you come on with numbers and you're across the things that you are going to do for Māori, but he hasn't even bothered doing that.
Yeah.
Like, he is not good at this.
No, it's shocking as well. I mean, like, I guess we could be generous if we wanted to go and go, everyone misses up their numbers sometimes. But if you are putting yourself out there as the leader of the party of the economy, the leader of the party with all the answers to help, the leader of the party who's going to give tax reductions, there's not the grace there. Like, I flub my words all the time. I said something last night about a literal human being when I meant these human beings were literally saying, but of course they were literal human beings. They were actual real human beings. I do it all the time. I get my words mixed up all the time. I'm not making a claim, though, that I'm the world's greatest orator, right? For people to call me on that. He is making the claim that they are the best to run the economy. They know numbers better. They're the party of business. They are making that claim. So I think you can hold them to a higher regard. There you go, I just messed that word up. A higher standard than perhaps others. And to not know what the minimum wage is if you work a full-time job.
That's a basic baby shit, right?
But yeah, but when you get asked, what about? I mean, I'm okay with him not knowing what the average Māori earns, although you think you would have done that work. But then when you have a guess at it, a stab at it, and you're out by $20,000, you're out by $400 a week.
47? Yeah,
you're out by $400 a week, 62 to 44. It's not quite 400, but you're out by $350 a week. Does that show ignorance? Does that show arrogance? Does that show disconnection from society? You know, well, surely someone couldn't live off any less than $62,000 if they were Māori. 44. Oh, okay. So a bit more than minimum wage. No. $100 a week less than minimum wage, Mr. Luxon. It just reeks of that kind of do as I say, not as I do. I've got the answers. What are they? You don't need to know. Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. Luxon didn't live here for years and years and years and years. He's come into a CEO job and made a bunch of money. He's completely isolated from the things that he is claiming to care about because it is not about him. National Party is not about us. It's not. It's tax relief for low and middle income earners. Fuck off. We know what it is. We've said it right from the start. It hasn't stopped being true. The tax cuts are not for us. The cuts are not for us. their tax cut policy hangs on such a tenuous thread that has been shown that they cannot defend, and then their backstop and their true objective is austerity and to take a scythe through the public sector, to take billions of dollars off the lowest earners in our society, the people on benefits, and to give almost exactly that same amount of money, you can look it up, to landlords.
Yeah.
You cannot get more Acme villain than these guys are doing it. And they're not even trying to hide their fucking workings.
That's what you do. You do
You know,
roll your hands.
I see someone in the chat going on, yeah, but Labour's for the unions. Yes, they're a workers' party. Do you know what unions are made out of? Workers. And parties like the National Party have had their foot on unions' necks every time they've been in government. So, you know, if you're talking about the dominance of the Labour unions in New Zealand, oh, mate, pick up a history book. See what it was. The Labour unions used to be able to shut down a port, shut down all the ports. They used to stop coal coming out of the ground. You know, if you want to talk about union power, that's when it was. Here, yeah, we've got some unions. They've got some members. They contribute to the Labour Party, but it's not a shadow of what it was. And yet maybe there should be some adjustment there. Join a union, folks. Join your union. Just go and do that.
The other thing which we haven't really brought up so much in this part of the conversation is, you know, when Julian was talking about the things that are going away, $5, prescriptions and the public
all
transport.
stacks up.
Yeah, public transport, and of course, thanks for the super chat, Luke. Appreciate the $3.49. 20 hours ECE being lost should be made more public. And what they're saying is, what the national line is, we're putting the money back in people's hands. Yeah, but if people are going backwards already, putting money in their hands, and then they have to pay more for their childcare. Or we even saw a story of, like, when they first announced their policy, it was on one of the either TVNZ or News Hub, about a family who would be eligible for that $125 a week. And they went, I think it was 6 kids, or maybe it was a family of 6 with 4 kids. All of them take public transport to and from school every single day. This will be worse off for us. So even though they were being given $125 a week potentially, you know, the other way was going $150 to $200.
Yeah.
So it's
You
not,
got to stack all of these things together, right?
Yeah.
So Luxon's saying, yeah, here's your $50 a fortnight or whatever. And while he's telling you that and shaking your hand and being a good guy, Nicola Willis has broken in your back door and raided your piggy bank and taken all your kids' toys. You know, and then when you're having to talk to the IRD about tax credits or something like that, guess what? It's going to take a couple of weeks for someone to get back to you because there's no one left in the fucking office.
No one in the back room.
Do you need to go down to Wins for some assistance? Well, guess what? You know, everything is going to grind to a halt. All of these changes that they said that they're going to make to various government departments, who's going to be fucking there to do them?
Yeah.
Nicola Willis wants to sack thousands of people just before Christmas. She's been gleeful about it.
Yeah, well, it was David Seymour who said 15,000 will go. He put a number on it.
Don't lose track of this. Voting's open now.